Hi, welcome to Module 8. This is Principles of Energy about fossil fuels, and we're going to be talking about petroleum and coal. So coal is one of the most plentiful and abundant energy-producing materials that we can find here in the United States. We have so much coal in the U.S. that the Carboniferous period, a period where coal production was very high because much of the United States was swampland, so we were inland sea swamp, and that allowed for rapid burial of the organic material that was mostly plant-based organic material that was rapidly buried to become coal, to the point where we have in the Carboniferous two time periods or one extinction event that happened in between that we can see. And so we call the Carboniferous the Mississippian and the Pennsylvanian. And that allows us to see two different periods of time with different organisms in each one, but that's how much coal we have in the US. So talking about coal, we have different grades of coal. And the simplest form or the cheapest form of coal that we can have is the stuff that gets compacted and can be grown on small, thin pond skims and is still very popular out in the United Kingdom today, and that is growing peat. And we can create peat bogs, and we cut little stacks of peat and we can burn it, and it's a very low-grade fuel, creates a lot of smoke, but that's stage one. If I bury it down, allow it to become a little bit more substantive, it becomes lignite coal, then bituminous coal, and then finally the highest grade anthracitic coal. And that's the one that's been metamorphosed. That's the really high grade stuff. And that's the stuff that we typically dig in the earth for. And while we practice strip mining today to get coal out of the earth, there is still coal mining, and there's still a few ground mines in the United States today. As far as locations of coal, you can see on this little map that coal fields, we have a few out west, but there's a good deal of them out here in western Pennsylvania regions on down through Tennessee and Kentucky and those parts of the United States, and then a little bit over here along the Mississippi River, like the Ohio Valley regions. Here is the book's version of that nice colored bit. As far as coal, we have a lot of uses specifically in producing electricity in burning coal. So we use it that way, but we still do use it as a fuel source. In its bituminous form, we can use it for coking. Coking is a material that we use for smelting, so breaking down of metals and turning things into steel and so on and so forth. So coking is also another important use of coal and that production. As far as other byproducts, bituminous coal does produce an artificially sweet saccharine material. And while it is not digestible, aspartame is a byproduct of coal. And so therefore we can use it as a sweetener. It tastes sweet to the tongue, but it has no nutritional value. You're basically eating rocks. And we put it in all sorts of things. So if you ever read aspartame in a product, just think you're eating some coal there. And so, aspartame. Here is some trace elements that can also be found in coal, which is why coal burning is so dangerous, is because we can find trace elements of heavy metals which can cause brain damage, blood poisoning, and all other heavy metal-based diseases that can come about. And this is a list of everything that they have. And this is why we put in scrubbers on coal plants to make sure that we are not breathing these in when they go up through the atmosphere. And I'll talk a little bit about scrubbing systems on fossil fuels in a little while. Here is that lovely version of a coal plant. And so we take coal, which has already been sorted. So we've taken out, we're just using the layers that is coal rock, and we put it through pulverizer to make it into a powder with which we burn. We burn it in the boiler system. The boiler system will have a wet scrubber, which means that there is a water layer that it has to bubble through. So as it's bubbling through the water, we pollute the water, and it picks up all the heavy particles, all the non-heavy particles that float up through, all the carbon dioxide, monoxides, nitrous oxides, and methanes that will go up through the smokestacks, right? There is a water scrubber for steam, and then all of the sludge gets collected in holding pools. And the holding pools are what makes it kind of a dirty place. And this also causes the problems when we hear of runoff coming from a electric power plant that's specifically burning coal and the dangers of that runoff sludge. That runoff sludge is the dirty sludge that's left over, the water that's left over from running through the boiler system. Some of that water is condensed and sent back through if it's not too sludgy. If it's too thick and sludgy, it goes straight out through the sludge line in the system. This is actually considered clean coal. So clean coal is one that has a water scrubber system on it. Clean coal is not any cleaner than regular coal burning. It's just the difference is we're producing two forms of pollution. So instead of all of that pollution being air pollution, we are producing both air and water pollution. So I'm dividing up the pollution type and having a little bit less being air dispersal and some of it being water dispersal. As far as ranking of coal and the amount of energy that you get out, you can see that anthracitic is the most efficient. That's the metamorphosed highest level coal. Butamus coal is secondary. Subbutamus is right here. Lignite, which is just a little bit of rock form, and peat won't even rank. That would be way up on top as an energy force. As far as use, you can see we're virtually no longer using it in homes at all. So it's down here on the bottom. So no home use for coal heating. And industrial use, there's still some use definitely in the coking methods, but the industries where we are smelting or making metal refined products has been kind of steady stream since the 1960s. Basically, when you think of all the steel falling out in the United States in the 1960s and everybody losing their jobs with steel production, it's been steady state. Every steel production mill in the United States, it's open, is still kind of open today, and all the ones that had closed back in the 1960s is closed. They're gone. As far as electrical generation, you can see that's still kind of on the rise, but with a lot of the advent of air and water pollution, still auxiliary measures that are trying to keep our air and waterways clean, those have become kind of steady. The other key to coal-fired power plants is that they take a long time to build. They are a 10-year project to put one into production, and therefore it's not like an electric coal plant is going to come online in rapid speed. This is what strip mining looks like. Like I said, we seldom go in the ground anymore. There's not many ground mines in the United States. If they will allow you to blast the top of the mountain off to get to the layer that is coal, we will do strip mining. And so here is strip mining in this production system, and they basically just cut off the top of the earth and they cut down to the layer that they need. And these are big, large pits, sometimes a mile across, at least a quarter mile across, and they're cutting out the layer and scraping that layer of the earth that they wanted, that bituminous coal layer off the earth's surface. This is what one of those strip mining tools look like. So in this picture here, you see this tool here that's cutting that layer of rock away to get down to the layer that we want. This is what it looks like. And so this is a great picture of what that looks like up close and not in action, but in mobility. Here is a flyover. And this one was taken by me when I was flying over the Kentucky Valley region. And so this is a strip mine just below, flying over in Kentucky. And so coal can be useful. It's abundant in the United States, so it's a great backup energy plan. But as far as continuation of use, it's a difficult one to continue its use since it has health downfalls to it. Breathing it in is not a healthy thing. Dealing with the water pollution is not a healthy thing. And the idea of doing that is not viable for the population. And since you're polluting the population that you're in and around, the ones who need to use it, it's not really a good option for future use. But it is a great resource to keep in mind and have as backup. So on that note, I would like you to, before you start part 2, I would like you to watch the oil production video. So watch the crude oil production video, and then I will pick up talking about oils. That way I can kind of go over key terms with oil production of crude oil, but not over inundate in the little nitty-gritty facts.